All right, let's get started. Today on the agenda, I have 3 things for us. One is just to review what we did at the end of class and make sure we have some reasons written down. The next thing is to work on a composition together on our school day. And the last thing is to talk about familiar commands that you might hear in the classroom. Right, the 2 commands. So if you were with us last year, we did this last year. Did I do this with you? I know I did this with A class. It might have been the older class. Some of you may have been there for that. So it may be a review. Some of you are doing it now in school, you've told me. Right? Today we will be doing the 2 form, and next week we will do usted and vosotros, right? Nosotros, sorry. All right. So let's look at subjects. I like. So me gusta, me gustan, me encanta, me encantan. So these 2 with the N and the N will be for plural subjects. And which would be the plural subjects? Las matemáticas, las ciencias, los idiomas. Right? Whenever we talk about a group. So here will be 1. Right? Los artes teatrales. Los estudios sociales, social studies. If you group ciencias, las matemáticas adicionales, los principios de negocios, right? So if you like those subjects, you would say me gustan, me encantan. Everything else would be me gusta, me encanta, right? Or prefiero. Okay. So you already spent your time taking down whichever of these you didn't have before, but you want to know, right? Perhaps you study it now, or perhaps you plan to study it in Form 5. Form 5, right? We could also have as an option los idiomas, right? For languages. So if we wanted to group French and Spanish together, we call it los idiomas, right? All right, why? Why do we like these subjects? And so we have all these reasons. Los profesores son amables, they are nice, and they explain things well. Right? Me divierto mucho en clase, from the verb divertirse, to enjoy oneself. Right? I enjoy myself a lot in class. Lo entiendo bien, I understand it well. Right? It's fácil. There should be an accent on this A. It is easy. For me, right? Some people find some subjects easier, just naturally easier than others, right? Any questions? Is there any other reason you want to give why you might like something? That we didn't say here? Please say in the chat, right? Otherwise, you have 1 more minute with this slide, and then we're going to look at how we say we don't like something or reasons for not liking something, other than just putting no into these expressions. All right, so let's look at some no reasons. I do not like, no me gusta, no me gustan, no me encanta, no me encantan, detesto. Odio is another one. Your subjects, and then why. Teachers give too much homework. Los profesores dan demasiado deberes, right? And of course, there are different ways to say this too. You can say there's so many assignments. Hay tantas tareas, right? All right. La profesora es muy estricta y grita mucho. So the teacher is very strict and shouts a lot, right? Es muy aburrido. And again, this has to agree with whatever the thing is. So you may have to change that to A or AS or OS, depending on the subject, right? So it's very boring. And it's very difficult, right? Es difícil para mí. Any other reason we might dislike a subject? You could say, I don't understand anything. No entiendo nada. It makes me tired. Okay, it's tiring. It makes me tired. Me cansa. So it tires. CANSA. Me cansa, right? It um it wears me out. It tires me out. I don't like the teacher. Well, that's just no me gusta. El profesor or la profesora, right? Be prepared for the follow-up question of why don't you like the teacher? And any of these reasons could work. Right? It is ella es muy estricta y grita mucho, so too strict, very strict and shouts a lot, or ella es muy aburrida, very boring. Él da demasiado deberes, he gives too much homework. All right. Any other questions? Anything anybody else wants to ask about? Half a minute again with this slide, right? Okay, ready. Anybody still using this slide? So we are going to write a composition, a few paragraphs on media escolar, right? So we can take down the heading, and actually translation is wrong. My day at school, my school day, right? All right. So what are some things you expect we would have to talk about if we're going to write a composition about a typical school day? Let's brainstorm in English. If somebody asks you to describe your school day, what's the first thing you'll tell them about? So we're doing a brainstorm in English. Where your school is located, nice. The first thing I tell them is it's boring. That's not gonna make them want to read more. Okay, start time. Okay, what school, the name of the school? Right, start time. We want to know what time you arrive at school. Right? And also how you get there. Wait, hold on, tell me. All right. Now, what else we want to know about your school day? All right, break time and lunchtime activities. What else? Any fight or drama? A typical school day. So a typical school day, there probably isn't a fight or drama, right? Okay, so time with friends, yes. What else do you all typically do on a day? After the bell rings, what happens first? Right? Classes per day, subjects, assembly, right? Roll call. And a lot of these things we want to know the times, right? So how long is each class? How many subjects you have? Is the timetable stay fixed? How long is it break time? How long is lunchtime? Etc. Yes, if you had a test. So we're just talking in general, right? We're not talking about any particular day when something dramatic happened, although we certainly could do that. But let's get the general stuff out of the way first, right? Okay. All right, I'm gonna pause. Please jot down the brainstorm. Take down the topic, un día escolar, and please take down the points that we have to address. Now we're going to write our day together. Now I have a little guide of sorts of things we need to remember. So we start, this is us going to school, and there's the school, and there's somebody with a bell, and then this is assembly, etc. Right? Still pictures will help us remember what we're supposed to discuss as well. All right, so let's start. What do we need to say first? We need to say what school we go to. We need to say how we get to school, what time we arrive. Let's see. All right, so what school do we go to? And how do we say what school we attend? So how do we say I attend? On the left-hand side, I'm going to make a list of vocabulary. But I think most of the vocab you should probably already know. Can you tell me the name of the school you attend? So you could simply say I go to, you could use ear. A, right? And the name of the school, or you could say assistir, which looks like to assist, but is really to attend, right? All right, so a couple of you have answered. Everybody should try and say it, right? I'm going to use asistir. So asisto a, I'm going to just put a name in Spanish, right? So la escuela, no, I'll go with el colegio. El colegio de Santa Ana, el colegio de Santa Ana School, right? Santa Ana College. All right. All right. Tell me how you get to school. How do we say I walk to school? I go to school on foot. Okay, traveling by bus, by car, sure. All right, so let's put down the options, right? So we could say voy a la escuela, and here you have to choose. You could say by foot, a pie, en coche, or en carro. In camioneta, if it's like a chartered bus that you pay monthly and they drop you or whatever. Or in camion as well, right? All right. If it is literally a bus, you could say in autobus, right? Yes, you can say yo camino a la escuela. Great. All right. What time do you arrive at school? 7 a.m. Okay. All right. So llegar, to arrive, which everybody knows, right? Is a very common verb. Okay, so llegó a las 7. All right. I want to say 7 in the morning. Okay, 7:15. Yes, by all means, make it your actual time. Now, help me. What do I put here? La mañana. Right? So they're on the first N. I'm going to wait for spell check to tell me. And then I'll just write. There you go. So I could just right click and write. Right. What do I put here? Do I put de or do I put por? What is the difference? Well, okay, I appreciate that you all are telling me why you think what the answer you're choosing, right? All right, so we will put day here, and I'll tell you why. The reason is because we've given the time. So in Spanish, we say de la mañana or de la tarde or de la noche if we tell you the time. But if something is going to happen, just at some point in the morning or the afternoon or the nighttime, then it would be por, right? So if instead of giving you an exact time, I said llego por la mañana, because I just want to say, well, I arrive in the morning. Some students are like that. Perhaps it's before the bell rings, perhaps it's after the bell rings. Some teachers are like that too, right? Just in the morning. I know it's in the morning. Then I use por, right? So the rule is, I'm taking off this sentence because we don't need it for our composition. The rule is de if a time is given, but por if no time is given. right? And maybe I need to say specific. Okay, so it's not actually because it's AM or because it's PM. It's just because I have that 7. I could, if you could say 7, or you could say 7:15, or you could say 5 to 8, then it's de la mañana. All right, what time does the bell ring? And what is the word for the bell? And what is the word for it to ring? 8:30 a.m. Okay. Some people it's very different. Some people it's before 8. Some people it's closer to after 7. All right. So, um, you could say la campana de la escuela, right? So the school bell. Um, suena a, and you put the time, las 8, right? So sonar to ring, which is very close to soñar, to sleep, to dream, sorry, right? And it's stem changing, O to UE, right? So to ring, la campana for the bell. Now, if you think that this is too many, these are too many unfamiliar words, you're never going to remember that. You could just say las clases begin. School begins. Las clases comienzan a las 8. That would be a little bit misleading because classes might actually start a little bit later than the bell rings, right? Because we have assembly, we have all these things. All right, so everybody is okay so far. Nobody needs anything translated, right? Okay, what else happens after the bell rings? Assembly. All right. Okay, so um how often you go to assembly? Every day or some days? Every day. Okay. So if it's every day, that might be easier. Cada día tenemos la asamblea. Right? We have assembly. Okay, yeah. What are the other timings you'll have for assembly? Dia needs an accent on the I, right? Okay. Another way to say okay, every other day. You could say a veces. So sometimes, right? Or literally every other day is cada otro día. All right. Okay, tell me about how you feel about assembly. Do you like assembly? Why? Do you not like assembly? Why? And if you do like assembly, why do you like it? All right. So it takes too long. The place is always hot. It's boring. Fine, no problem. So we could say, no me gusta la asamblea. I notice nobody is saying they like assembly. Yeah, it's very stressful, right? Right? Porque es muy aburrida, right? This time asamblea is feminine, so we have to say boring. We have to make it agree, right? What else? Y dura mucho tiempo. It lasts a long time. And what else? Hace mucho calor. It's very hot. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is give you all time now to finish. I mean, you've been writing as I'm going, right? But some, I'm sure some of you did not because you prefer to wait till after. So that we don't get too far ahead. I'm gonna wait a minute or two that you finish writing down. If there's something you don't understand, you need to know the English for it, you could ask, right? All right, so let's use my favorite Spanish word ever, I. All right, so I ocho. Okay, so for you, some people it might be 7. For some people it might be ocho, right? Classes durante el día, right? So there are 7 or 8 classes during the day. And each class, sorry, cada clase dura, how long? Okay, so that here you have to put in the time, right? I'm gonna put 40 minutes. Some people I know will be shorter, some will be longer. Um, all right, what time is recess? All right, so durar, the verb to last. All right, so you will put in your specific time, right? So what is the word for recess while we're on it? El recreo, right? Recess time. And then, of course, lunchtime is el almuerzo. Right? Lunchtime. Lunchtime. And there's the verb almorzar, to have lunch, which we will use. Okay, so class lasts 40 minutes. Hay el recreo. De hay un recreo de 20 minutos. Right? A las 10 de la mañana. And what do you usually do during your recess time? Okay, last days in media, whatever the time is for you, you could put it, right? All right. You could explain durante el recreo, como algo during recess time you play football. Okay, juego el fútbol, voy a la biblioteca, whatever it is. I'm gonna save it for when we get to lunch, right? You talk to your friends, charlo con mis amigos, nice, all right. Okay, we have lunch, we're gonna use almorzar, which by the way is a stem changing verb, O to UE, right? Hence almuerzo, right? But it's nosotros form that we're gonna use, so it doesn't change for nosotros form, or it changes back for the nosotros form, however you think about it, right? All right, so almorzamos a las whatever time, 11:30, um, a mediodía, whatever it is, right? Y durante el almuerzo, okay, so during your lunch, this is when you do whatever you do, right? So you talk to your friends, charlo con mis amigos or amigas. You go to the library, voy a la biblioteca. What else? You play football, juego al fútbol. Anything else we missed out? Nothing. All right, after lunch, how many classes do you have? Three classes after lunch, two classes after lunch. All right, so then you put your suit, right? So después del almuerzo, there is, or there are, however many classes you have, right? Tres classes por la tarde. So now I'm not putting a time specifically. I'm just saying there are three classes in the afternoon, so we use por. Good? All right, each class is about 35 minutes, no problem. So up here where we said the classes lasted, but well, I put 40 minutes, but you could change it to 35 minutes, right? Okay. How do we say the day ends or the school day ends or the classes end or we finish at whatever time we finish at? What verb are we going to use? What's the verb for to end in Spanish? To terminate in Spanish. Right, terminar. Good. So classes end. How do we say that? So day end, we take off the AR, and for AOS, we would add AS, we would add AN, right? All right, so terminan, last class is terminan, good. Or terminan, last class is sure. a las, and you put whatever time, a las 3, a las 2:15, a las 2:30, whatever the time is, right? And you could write whatever, okay, vuelvo a la casa, however you go back home, right? Por maxi taxi, or whatever way it is that you go back home. But E here instead of an E, right? Okay, right? Volver to return. Also stem changing or to UE, right? When I say stem changing, do we know why I'm saying that? Or is this new to some people? There are some verbs in Spanish that where the stem changes when you conjugate them. All right, so if anybody is hearing this the first time, you could let me know, right? Okay, so we have a very long description of what we do in a day, right? Next week for practice, we could put this in past tense and talk about a particular day where we had some drama, there was a fight, you saw particular friends, you had a test, something embarrassing happened to somebody, something dramatic happened with a teacher, right? So we could think about how we would add those things and how we would make these things into past tense. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the recording and give people a chance to write what is on the screen. So this teacher would say to the boys, he would say, sit, right? If they're lucky, they might get a please. Now let's say the boys wanted the teacher to sit. What would the boys say to the teacher? They can't say the same thing and they can't say it in the same tone. In English, what would they say? Sometimes you've been in a formal setting and you've heard it, like if you've been in church, maybe even temple. Yeah, we could say, excuse sir, can you sit please? Right? Excuse me, sir. Would you please sit? And then sometimes you might have heard, please take your seats. Or other variations of this, right? We invite you to sit. You may be seated. Is another one, right? So there are different ways. It's just in English, we tend to say with more words, right? Kind of soften the command because it's a command, you're telling them to do something. But in Spanish, is a different form of the verb, right? Minus the more words. Okay, so let's look at first the familiar version. Okay, so for the to form, we ordinarily we would take the second person singular of the verb, right? Like if you had hablar and you had to conjugate that for two, that you're saying you speak, it would be two hablas. Right? That's the normal indicative. But when you're telling somebody to do something, you go to the third person singular of the verb, which is the él, ella, usted form. Right? The third person singular. Yo is the first person singular, tú is the second person singular, él, ella, usted is the third person singular. Nosotros is the first person plural. Vosotros has been kicked out of the conjugation chart, and ellos Like, what's that planet? Is it Pluto? Eos, ustedes. Now, vosotros resides with Pluto. Ustedes is the third person plural, right? So we are looking at this form for the command. All right. So, and the to form is the easiest way to form the command out of all the ways to form command, right? So, hablar, ordinarily the endings are O, A, S, A, A, M, O, S, A, N. So, third person singular is A, right? So, habla. So, this is when you look at somebody and you say speak, talk. All right. Comer, you want to look at the person, you want to tell them eat. Right? What are the endings usually? O, E, S, E, E, M, O, S, E, N. So again here, right? Third person singular. Eat. Right? And if it helps you, you can think of it like a literal translation. You think of it like saying he eats, she eats, he speaks, he talks, she talks, she speaks, right? If that somehow helps. And then escribir is as an IR example. We take off the IR, just like we took off the ER and the AR, we add E, escribe. So we want to say write. Right? These are the IR endings, O-E-S-E, I-M-O-S-E-N, right? And it would be third person singular, so E. Right, everybody understand that? That makes sense? Anybody confused about how we form the to form of the command? You want to tell your subordinate to do something, you want to tell your friend to do something, a family member to do something, a close family member to do something. This is the version of the command that you use. Right? And this is the do part, not the don't do part. Any confusion? Everybody thinks they have it? All right, so tell me, so write the two commands for each. The to form of the command for each. And also remember that the command is the same as the imperative. Right? All right, so first one, bailar. Next one, cantar. 3, beber. You can put your answers in the chat. 4, vivir. 5, caminar. Um, last one there, right? All right, so take a try. All right, so corrections. Bailar to dance. So you're telling somebody dance. Words that I would never say ever. All right, so baila, baila, baila. Put that in enough songs, enough parent songs. All right. Cantar, you're telling somebody sing. Canta. Beber, you're telling somebody drink your delicious hot chocolate beverage that you made for them, right? Bebe. Vivir, you're telling somebody live. Live your life. Don't die. Vive. Caminar, walk. Probably a toddler who doesn't want to walk but wants to sit on the ground. All right, leer, leye. Right, leye. Read it, read it. Great. All right. If there's any questions, let me know, right? Okay, let me know as soon as I can clear this away, right? Okay, let's do the irregular 2 commands one time. And it's about 10 of them. You just have to memorize them, right? All right, so I'm clearing this away. I'm going to make a little box here. Irregular commands. No, these are very important, right? They are irregular, but they are also popular verbs that get used a lot. All right, so this year, to tell, D, right? So this year to tell, or to say. So you see, D means say, right? And it would probably be joined up to something like say it or tell me, right? Tell me, dime. You know that one pretty well, I'm sure. All right, hacer, to do, to make. And then hacer is used with a lot of different expressions, right? So as, H-A-Z, right? Do, make. And again, it would be combined with other things. So it's probably the sentence eventually would read, do it, make it, or whatever the expression is, right? Ir, to go, ve. Right? So this is go. Poner, pon, P-O-N, right? Poner, to put. So you're telling somebody put, and it would be combined with something else, right? Salir, to leave, to go out of, to go, right? And the irregular is sal, and it means go, right? Leave. Let me change this go to leave so we don't confuse it with ear. All right, ser, see. Right, ser, to be. So you're saying to somebody, be. Be a good boy, be quiet, maybe not be quiet, be at peace, be on time. All right, tener, to have, and ten is irregular form. I was saying have. All right, have something. Okay, one more. I'm gonna put it up here. Venir, to come. Ven. Are you saying to somebody, come, right? So usually I would go through all the different ways to form commands and then afterwards talk about what we do with reflexive verbs and what we do with object pronouns. But a lot of times students just stare at me blankly when we do that, right? Through the screen. So this time, every time we do a command, we're talking about pronoun placement one time. And hopefully it will stick a little better, right? So I'm clearing this away. Okay. So I'm going to give you another rule to add to the list that you have. Right? So let me make this smaller. We're going to talk one time about pronoun placement. Right? So first rule, for reflexive verbs, attach the pronoun at the end and put an accent where the stress would have been before. Before adding the pronoun, right? Right, let me move that down. Okay, so write that down. You could shorten it. If you could figure out how to shorten it, you could shorten it, right? And we're going to do some examples on the right-hand side here in the middle. So when you have a reflexive verb, every time you use a reflexive verb, you have to include a pronoun, right? To show who is doing the action. That must be accounted for. So you put it at the end, and then you put an accent to keep the stress where it should have been before you added that extra syllable to the word. All right, so let's look at the most common example, because you hear it in school, you've heard it in school multiple times, and this is from St. Arsene. Right, and this is to sit. The infinitive form is St. and it has a reflexive pronoun say. So your teacher wants to say to you, sit. Now, because it is the to form of the verb, what reflexive pronoun goes with to? With yo, the reflexive pronoun is me. With to, the reflexive pronoun is te, right? With el, eos, stated say. With nosotros, it's nos. With eos, eos, ustedes, it's say again, right? All right, so to and te. So first we follow the original rule. Did I accidentally delete what we had before? No, it's on the other side of the slide. And yeah, right. Right. So we go to the third person singular of the verb, and that means we take off the AR, we add a, right? So we take off the AR, we add a. We really need the yo form. All right. So sienta, and we add te at the end, right? Now, before we added the te, I'm going to come back to this just now, right? Before we added the te, where was the stress in the word? The stress was here, right? On the E, sienta, because it ends in a vowel, so the stress goes on the second to last syllable. So when we add in the te, we have to put in an accent here to keep the stress here. Otherwise, when we're saying it, if we follow the rules of pronunciation, it will become sientate. But the stress doesn't go here. It has to go over here. Right. Now, how come it's IE and not sienta? Why isn't it sientate? If this is the verb, and I was telling you that we just add a. Why is it SIE? Because centar is a radical changing, a stem changing E to IE, right? And we take the third person singular of the verb. So it would be me siento, te sientas, él, usted sienta. Nosotros sentamos, ellos ustedes sientan. If anybody is confused, please say, right? So siéntate is our command for sit. Right? All right, let's try one. Ducharse, to shower. So you want to say to somebody, shower, take a shower. We go to the third person singular of the verb. So ducho, duchas, ducha. And we add te to the end because you're talking to a person, a you, right? And we put the accent here. So here we're saying to the person, shower. All right, I want to give you a couple to try. Levantarse, get up. Lavarse, wash. Right? So try those. Tell me what the 2 commands would be for those. I'm giving you a minute. All right. So levantarse, same rule. We go to the third person singular. So it will be levanta. And then we have to add a te. Now, ordinarily, where does the stress go? It goes here, right? So when you add the te, you have to put the accent to keep the stress here. Levantate, right? Lavarse, to wash. Lava, right? Stress would go here. Lavate, right? And you could say lavate las manos, right? Wash your hands, wash your hair, whatever. Wash. Well, it can't be wash your dishes because it's reflexive, so it has to be a body part, right? All right. Okay, it will take practice. Next week, we're going to start back with this, with reflexive pronouns. And also, I want to give you a little quiz on the irregular forms of the command, right? And then we will add on to that a little bit, what you do with object pronouns, direct and indirect. And then we will go on to the negative form of the to command, and then hopefully the usted form, right? But I want to incorporate pronouns. I don't want to leave it till after we do how you form commands. So we will move a little slower. It will take us about 3 to 4 weeks to finish it. If anybody needs to move faster because you have coursework, please say. If anybody needs to do any other topic because you have coursework, please say, right? All right, so today we spent our time talking about our school day, why we like certain subjects, why we dislike certain subjects, and forming positive commands, the to form, right? And we've started adding on pronouns to the positive commands. Next week, we build on that, right? If anybody has a topic to revise, don't forget to message and say, right? Okay, once y'all are done, y'all are free to go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye, guys.